So let's talk about how to add rational numbers. I'm just going to give you the quick definition, or just the quick way how people add rationals. Then we're going to explore how to get this result and how it works, and just maybe some quick examples, just to make you understand clearly what's happening, rather than some abstract letters and numbers. So let's look at this. It says if you have two rational numbers, a over b, that's the first one, and the second rational number, c over d. If you were to add these two rational numbers together, you would get this result. You would get a times d plus c times b over b times d. So this is how you would have to add two rational numbers. And let's just dissect this a little bit. So let's see what we can kind of discern from what's happening here. So we see that the first term, a times d, is just the first numerator times the denominator of the other rational number. So a times d, so it'll be a times d plus, and then we see that the second term in the numerator is just the numerator of the second rational number times the denominator of the first rational number. So we see that it's c times b. So let's see what we kind of figured out right now. We know that the first term is just the numerator times the denominator of the second. So whatever the first rational number is, multiply that by the denominator of the other one. That's what we get for the first term. Then add that to the numerator of the second rational number times the denominator of the first rational number. So we're kind of just doing these cross terms, adding them together, and then let's see what happens for the denominator. In order to get the denominator, we're just going to be multiplying the two denominators of the rational numbers. Okay? Now let's show you how you can kind of get this result on your own, how you could figure it out. So we're going to use one important property or fact. We know that two things. We're going to use two important facts. We know if we have any fraction, let's say, and you have some number over that same number, that is always equal to 1. So 2 over 2 simplifies to just 1. Or let's say, for example, 5 over 5, again, simplifies to 1. So any fraction which has the same number in the numerator and denominator always simplifies to 1. That's one thing we know. So then, we also know this. We know that if we multiply 1 times any fraction, it doesn't change the fraction. So let's say we have 5 over 2 times 1. That's the same thing as saying 5 over 2. Because 1 does not change the fraction itself. So we're going to use these two facts, and we're going to derive this result. We're going to get this result from those two facts. So we know if we multiply 1 times any one of these rational numbers, or you can think of them as fractions, it doesn't change the result, right? Well, what if I multiplied the first one times the denominator over, what if we did this? So what if we had a over b times d over d? Because regardless of what this number is, we know that if we have any number over that same number, it's equals to 1. So this is the same thing as saying a over b times 1, right? So what we're doing is we're going to multiply the top and bottom of the first rational number by the denominator of the second rational number. And we're going to add that to, now we have the second rational number. We're going to do the same thing what we did to the first one. We're going to multiply the second rational number by the denominator of the first rational number. So we're going to multiply the second one by b over b. because this is just 1. This is just saying that this is times 1. So just to recap, what we did was we took this we took these two rational numbers, and what I did is I multiplied the numerator and denominator by the other denominator of the second rational number. So I took this rational number, I multiplied the numerator and denominator by it. And for this rational number, I just multiplied it by the numerator by b and the denominator by b. It's a mouthful. So let's simplify this. We know how to multiply fractions, so let's do that. And in case you don't, what you would do is you would multiply the numerator and the denominators of the fractions. So let's do that. So a times b, so the numerator times the numerator, over the denominator times the denominator, so b times d. And we're going to add that to numerator times numerator. That looks like, so that should be plus c times b. And then we're going to multiply the denominator times the denominator. So d times b. Or we know from multiplication that this is the same thing as saying b times d. Okay. Now, we also know from fractions, if the denominators are the same, then we can just add the numerators, right? So let's do that. I'm just going to continue it here, so I don't have room. So we have a times b, a times d, my mistake, plus c times b. And that's all over the same denominator, which is b over d. So, following this argument, following this train of thought, we arrived to this result. So we said we have two rational numbers, which we can think as fractions. We're going to multiply the rational numbers, the numerator and denominator, by whatever is at the bottom of the other rational number or fraction. So for the first part, we said a over b times d for the numerator and denominator, and we added that to c over d times b over b, right? Then we just did that multiplication, because we know how to multiply fractions. So we get this result. Then we know that if we have the same denominator for two fractions, all we have to do is just add the numerators. So we did that. We have a times d plus c times b, and we got that over, and we got in the denominator, since we know the denominators are the same, that would be b over d, b times d. Well, let's do some checking. Oh, look at that! We have the same result. So we have a times d plus c times b. And at the denominator, we have b times d. So that's how you can kind of think of it, of how we get this result. This is how you would do it. But then you don't have to know this. If you can just memorize this aspect, if you can just do this once for yourself to understand what's happening, and then just memorize this result, then that's good enough. So let's do a quick example. And I think this video is going to be long, hopefully. Hopefully I didn't babble too much. So let's see what it says. We have two rational numbers, because these are both rational. And now it says how to add these together. So that says, in order to add these numbers, you would take the first one, you would take the first number, multiply that by the denominator of the second one. So this would be 2 times 4. I'm just letting this equal to A. I'm just letting this equals to B. I'm letting this equals to C. I'm letting this equals to D. And